Welcome to the deep dive. You sent us a stack of sources that really demanded we move beyond the usual traditions of Christmas and look straight up into the night sky.
Hmm.
We are taking a fascinating, really intense look at the first Christmas, examining a theory that claims the greatest prophetic message ever was written, well, not on a scroll, but in the stars themselves.
That's absolutely right. And this cube dive is a bit unusual. It really operates on two distinct but linked ideas.
Okay.
First, the sources propose that the Star of Bethlehem was a specific, observable astronomical event, the retrograde of Jupiter.
Right.
And second, they argue that the entire sequence of events, from planet alignments to the flight to Egypt, creates this profound prophetic typology. It's essentially mapping out future events, specifically the Rapture.
So our mission today is to gain some quick, solid knowledge about how this theory actually works. We're going straight to the most specific details the sources provide.
We have to start with the timeline.
Yeah, pretty serious timeline adjustment because the first thing the researcher does is just completely move the clock.
Yes. If you follow this theory, you have to let go of the traditional date. December 25th is not the day of birth.
So what is it then?
The sources are very firm on this. December 25th was the commemoration, the day the Magi actually visited. And they placed this visit about 15 months after the birth.
15 months. Wow.
Yes, nailing the date of that visit to December 25, 2 BC.
That fundamentally changes how you visualize the whole story. So
Yeah.
why is that specific date, 2 BC, why is that so important to the whole framework?
Because it creates this beautiful, symmetrical calendar that the sources say proves it was all divinely orchestrated.
How so?
Well, this proposed December 25, 2 BC visitation date, it corroborates all the other key dates they've hypothesized. And they're all rooted in Jewish festival calendars.
Okay, let's quickly take those off. What markers does that 2 BC date lock into place?
If you accept the December 25, 2 BC visit, it aligns perfectly with a proposed Hanukkah conception in 4 BC.
Which would mean the birth falls on.
Rosh Hashanah in 3 BC. The Feast of Trumpets. And then that timeline just flows perfectly into a Passover crucifixion on April 14, 32 AD.
So it turns the life of Christ into a kind of prophetic clock where every major event lands right on a critical festival date.
Exactly. The cohesion is what they see as the proof.
That is compelling. Okay, so now that the data's set, December 25, 2 BC, let's look up at the sky. The sources make a strong case for why we should even be looking at the stars in the first place.
Yeah, and they root it right in Genesis.
Right?
It connects back to the Creator's intention for the heavens. Genesis states the sun, moon, and stars were ordained by Jehovah, not just for light, but for signs, for keeping time, for communicating divine intent. And the Magi were, trained to read those signs.
And the sign they followed, according to these sources, was Jupiter. So explain the retrograde of Jupiter for those of us who don't spend our nights charting orbits.
It's all about the visual mechanics of the solar system. A retrograde is basically an optical illusion.
An illusion.
Yeah, because Earth has a faster orbit. When we pass a slower outer planet like Jupiter, it appears from our perspective to slow down, stop, and then temporarily move backward across the sky.
Ah, and the key word there is stop.
The key word is stop. It looks like it's halting right over a location, which, aligns perfectly with the biblical account of the star stopping over the house.
Exactly.
And the sources really stressed that the Magi weren't just, guessing.
Yeah.
This required specialized knowledge. They had to know planetary orbits, frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
They had to predict when and where this would happen.
And the location in the sky was specific.
Extremely. The significance is tied to its location. Jupiter only positions itself in Virgo, the constellation of the Virgin, on a fixed 12-year cycle.
So this wasn't some sudden chaotic event like a comet. This was a precise, predicted, cyclical thing. But the specific sequence and the timing of that stop made it unique to 2 BC.
Precisely. The argument is that this exact series of events, Jupiter appearing to stop in Virgo at this exact moment, it just couldn't have happened in any other year.
Yeah.
Maybe 12 years prior in 10 BC or 12 years later, but not then. The astronomical precision validates the timing.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've got the date, we've got the star. Now let's decode the entire night sky on that hour of December 25, 2 BC, as the Magi looked south from Jerusalem toward Bethlehem. The source material claims this was a moving prophecy.
It was a complete celestial panorama.
Mm.
And the Magi, being expert astronomers and astrologers, would have seen the symbolism instantly.
And the first sign foreshadowed what?
The destiny of the child they were seeking. Sacrifice.
Tell us about the centaur and the victim.
So as they're looking south, the constellation of Centaur is rising over the horizon. And Centaur, often shown as a spear bearer, was positioned so it looked like it was piercing lupus, which is identified here as the victim.
Wow.
And at the same time, Crux, the Southern Cross, rose directly over Bethlehem.
That is incredibly powerful imagery. A piercing, a victim, and a cross, all converging over their destination. But are the sources confident the Magi would have immediately jumped to a conclusion about sin atonement?
They argue that these constellations carried specific ancient meanings that went beyond just local mythology. To the Magi, this arrangement clearly foreshadowed Jesus' future, his piercing on the cross of Calvary for sin atonement. The sky was telling the story before they even knocked.
And the sky was also giving them directions, which is where this cosmic meridian comes in.
Yes, it's a slightly technical term, but it's simple, really. The cosmic meridian is the vertical line from the highest point in the sky straight down to the horizon.
Like a plumb line from heaven.
A perfect analogy. And at that specific hour, that vertical line sliced right through the middle of the constellation of Virgo.
So, a straight line.
A cosmic ley line, or a direct line from Jehovah. That's how the sources put it. It was guiding them with unerring precision. And this was followed, of course, by the grand finale.
Which brings us back to Jupiter.
The retrograded Jupiter appeared to stop dead in the sky, confirming the precise spot and completing the sequence. But wait, there's more. The alignments didn't just give a location, they detailed the cosmic battle.
The battle lines. This involves Pluto and Scorpio, right? This connects back to Genesis 3.15.
That's the interpretation. Pluto, which has that ancient connotation of the Lord of Death, or the underworld, was positioned right at the feet of Virgo.
Okay.
So the Magi would have seen this as the sky, broadcasting the fulfillment of Genesis 3.15, how the seed of the woman would one day crush the head of Lucifer.
And was there a double witness to this battle in the sky?
Absolutely. The final piece involved Venus and Mars. Venus, which the source identifies here as representing Ophiuchus, or Jesus the man-child, was positioned at Ophiuchus's feet.
And right next to it.
Right next to it was Mars, the god of war, sitting in the constellation Scorpio, the adversary.
So you have the man-child next to the god of war in the constellation of the adversary.
It symbolized the great spiritual battle. The sources link this directly to the Passion. Jesus took the sting of death and sin, Scorpio's sting, but in doing so, the mortal curse fell upon the adversary's head. It's all detailed astronomically.
Wow. Okay, if we connect all this dense astronomical proof to the theology, we land on the idea of the incarnation as a rescue mission.
Yes, looking at the bigger picture, the sources framed Jesus' arrival as fundamentally a divine rescue mission. It was meant to reverse the curse of Adam and Eve. That failure, that original failure, forfeited humanity's birthright and bound them to perdition.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, what does the source mean by perdition in this context?
It means permanent, eternal separation from the Creator. The rescue mission was necessary to offer a path back from that.
And this brings us to the core prophetic idea of this whole deep dive, the rapture typology. How does a story from Jesus' early childhood link to the future escape of the bride of Christ?
The typology rests on divine deliverance from an immediate fatal danger. You have Herod trying to kill the infant Jesus, which forces this urgent flight to Egypt for safety. The source draws a correlation between that physical, immediate escape and the future escape, or rapture of the bride of Christ, from an equally specific threat. It's a template for divine extraction.
And that flight to Egypt wasn't just a desperate scramble, it was also a fulfillment of Scripture.
Correct. It fulfilled Hosea 11.1. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. It shows that the entire sequence was preordained. And the source highlights a beautiful irony here, too.
What's the ironic twist?
Well, Jesus is seen as the greater Joshua, the greater Jacob. And the irony is that his flight was to Egypt for safety. It was a place of haven.
Which is the complete opposite of.
The complete opposite of the nation of Israel's deliverance from Egypt, the place of bondage. It's a purposeful reversal of that historical paradigm. It emphasizes the Messiah's unique sovereignty.
That adds a fantastic layer to the story. So, if the Magi saw this spectacular display on December 25th, what did the sources say about the very next day? What happened in the immediate aftermath?
The source notes one final dramatic sign, a powerful emphasis on the purpose of the whole journey. A solar eclipse occurred on December 26th, 2 BC.
The very next day. What was the significance of an eclipse at that specific moment?
It occurred in the constellation of Capricorn. And Capricorn is often known as the goat, or in this specific typological reading, the sign of the slaughterer.
The sign of the slaughterer.
Yes, and that links immediately to Yom Kippur, the scapegoat, and the prophetic meaning of the Passover lamb.
So the entire celestial sequence, from Jupiter stopping to the eclipse, was designed to emphasize that this child was specifically born to die and be essentially slaughtered like a lamb.
Exactly. The source suggests it was Jehovah's ultimate accent mark on the purpose of the incarnation. The entire thing pointed towards sacrifice, atonement, and victory.
Now, let's take that King Herod parallel and bring this typology into the modern day, which is a major part of the source material. Herod, seeking to devour Jesus, is called the red dragon typology. How does the source connect that to the church today?
The source uses Revelation 12, where the red dragon tries to devour the man-child. The interpretation is that today's increased worldwide persecution of the church is a sign of the nearness of that future deliverance event.
So the persecution isn't random, it's a sign that the red dragon senses the coming departure.
That's the core thesis. Just as the man-child in Revelation 12 is raptured up to the throne, the current global surge in tribulation is seen as the red dragon sensing the imminence of the great escape.
The pre-departure signal.
The pre-departure signal, right before the bride is taken to the greater Egypt, the ultimate place of divine safety.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've covered the astonishing specificity of this Christmas astronomy, the 2 BC date, Jupiter's retrograde, the Centaur and Crux prophecy, the Pluto battle lines, and this powerful parallel between Jesus' flight and the proposed future deliverance of the church.
What really stands out is that these sources don't just offer a theological idea, they offer an astronomical argument. The level of detail connecting the celestial mechanics to the narrative down to the minute placement of Pluto argues that this event was designed with maximum precise communication.
But we have to note the ultimate conclusion from the source material. The rapture year and time is still yet to be determined. The signs point to the season, but not the exact time on the clock.
Which leaves us with a truly provocative thought, something for you to mull over. If the Magi were led by a precise, observable, astronomical, cosmic ley line 2,000 years ago, what specific cosmic ley line or complex sequence of signs might be revealed and comprehended today, leading to the final departure? Is the message still written in the stars for those who have the eyes to read it?
A powerful question that shifts our focus from the ground to the heavens. Thank you for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.